Hello, in this video we're going to have our first look at Roman numerals. Now, Roman numerals were, as you can imagine, devised by the Romans, and they were used for showing numbers. As you can imagine, ancient people probably just put marks on their cave wall or scratched into the bark, just single marks going down, and we've got a similar system to that we use called a tally chart. The Romans came up with an idea of using letters to represent numbers, and they're still used today in things like clocks have Roman numerals, and quite often dates are written, so it's a really useful thing to be able to do. So let's make a start. Now we're just going to look at Roman numerals going up to 100 today and look at some of the basic rules. So the first thing to think of is that this I, which I'm going to call a I here, equals 1. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. And I've got this V here, V equals 5, and X equals 10. I'm going to go and also write L, which equals 50, and I'm going to write C, which equals 100. Now, the first thing is you kind of really need to learn these. I think this is quite easy because this I looks like a 1, and for C we can just think about century, because a century is 100 years, or a centurion. The other ones are a bit trickier. I don't really have any good ways of doing it. I tend to always find that I remember that I and X is 1 and 10, V is 5, and then just keep on working on L being 50. Now let's have a little look at how this works. Now the first thing to think about is how many times I can repeat these letters and which letters I can repeat. So for example, if I was going to do 2, nice and easy, I can do 1, 2, and that equals 2, and I can go 1, 2, 3, and that equals 3. So that is not a problem, okay? And I can do exactly the same with X. So I can have X equals 20, and I can have X equals 30, because it's 3 lots of 10. V does not repeat, okay? So I'm going to write that in here, okay? V for 5 does not repeat. So I can't start going V for 5, 10, 15. And it's exactly the same with L. L does not repeat. And we are going to start seeing some kind of patterns going here. And then C for 100, the same thing. I could have C equals 200, and then C would equal 300. Now I know what you're thinking. You want to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that is not going to work because I cannot repeat more than 3 times. So I'm going to write that down. I cannot repeat more than 3 times. So what happens then, if I want to do 4, for example, what actually happens is I have to put a 1 before a 5. So that would be 1 less than 5, which would give me 4. Let me explain. So I'm going to come down here. I'll use my black pen. So I'm going to do 1, 1, 1, 1 is not 4. What I need to do 4 is I do 5 and I put I in front of it. So IV equals 4, because if I put a smaller value letter before a larger one, it subtracts from the larger one. And there is another rule that we're going to come back and look at later in my next video. So I think one of the best things that we could do now is do some examples. So for example, if I wanted to do, what would be a nice colour? Let's use green. Let's just convert some numbers into Roman numerals. So for example, 37. Well, first of all, I would do the 30. Well, I can do 30 by 3 lots of 10. I can go x, x, x. Okay, so I've repeated that 3 times. That's okay. Then I'm going to need 5, which would be a v. So that's 35. And then 2 ones, 37. There we go. I could do 23, which would be 2 lots of 10. 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. So in both of these examples, I haven't repeated more than 3 times, so it's fairly straightforward. Let's look at something like this though. We had gone for, I'd shown you here that the way to do 4, because I can't repeat 4 times, it's 1 less than 5. So look how I would do 9, for example. I can't do V for 5 and then carry it with 4 ones because I can't repeat 4. So what I have to do is I have to think to myself, well, 9 is 1 less than 10. So there's my 10, and I then put the I in front of it. So that's when that smaller letter goes in front of a larger letter, then we know that we are subtracting it away. So there we go, that's 1 less than 10 for 9. Let's look at some other ones. Let's go for 64. Now to do 60, I would go for 50, which is L. I would then go for 10, which is X. So that's my 50 and 60. And then 4 is going to be 1 less than 5. Okay, let's see if we can do a couple of others. Let's go for 76. So 76 is going to be 50, which is L. And then we're going to go to X is 60, another X is 70, 5 for 75, and then 1 more for 76. Let's go for 89. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go for 50, which is L, 60, 70, 80. So I've managed to do the 80 okay. And then for the 9, I'm going to have to do 1 less than 10. Okay, so I hope that's given you a bit of an idea. I wish it was just as easy as that. We've made a start on it. We're going to now have to go and look on in the next video a couple of other things. We're going to need to look at, there is also continuing past 100, and you can go up, there's a letter for 500 and a letter for 1000. Also, there are things in which you might want to write, for example, that I, L, you might think to yourself, well, L is 50 and I is 1 before 50, so that equals 49. But unfortunately, that is not correct. And I'm going to explain why in my next video. So have a look over. The basic things to remember here is that 5 and 50s don't repeat. You can never repeat a number more than 3 times. If you need to do anything to do with a 4 or a 9, then you end up doing 1 less than the number that you're heading up to. So you can see 4 is 1 before 5, 9 is 1 before 10. And we're going to carry on with this in the next video.